So last class we have discussed about how to make get and post requests with Express server. Okay. So now today we are going to discuss about REST API calls with the server. Okay. So what is this REST is? It's a representational stage API. First of all, what exactly this API? Application Programming Interface. It means let me draw the diagram. See, assume this is your application. Okay, this is your application, and you have made an application, and this application want to connect to some other external application. Suppose, okay, let's take this is our app. Okay, so this is want to connect to some other app which is developed by someone else. Okay, so this is made for some payments. Okay, so this person has made a payments to various banks, okay, different banks and all. So now we are not going to develop all these payments and all. We are just going to interact programmatically with this application, and we can able to get data through this application to our application. So how these two can be interact each other is through the concept called API. So API means application programming interface. So this application programmatically interacts with this application. So this guys will give some sort of URLs in the form of URLs to access to their data. So if you have access that URL from your application, so you can able to connect to their business logic from here. Okay. So how those URLs looks like? So let's take an example. Suppose, can you please mute everyone? Yeah. So now, uh, okay, see here. So generally, what type of data? I mean, how can you interact with other environments? As of now, here we are interacting with our server only, but the paths will be like this. Suppose, assume in the client side, I want to get all the employees' data. So we're gonna make a request from the clients is something like HTTP colon slash slash 127.0.0.1 colon slash sorry 3000 slash API slash employees. Okay, so from the get request, whenever I'm making for this particular URL slash employees, so you have to return all the employees. So let's do that. Usage. What the usage is? Get all the employees. So when you want to fetch all the employees, you have to make a this type of URL, all the employees. Okay. Next step. I want to get only one employee. Get single employee. How to get a single employee is again you have to make a get request. Okay. So fetch means only one request. So it has to be see slash API slash employees. You get all employees. Now I'll make slash one. So the employee with the ID 1 is going to return single employee, and then I'll say 10. So employee with ID 10, so 1000 or so 500 something. So employee with this ID is going to be written. Okay, so that's one. Get a single employee. Okay, and one more. To complete code operation, you have to do with the backend. Okay, so now I want to create new employee. Okay, create a new employee. So create a new employee. It's a post request. So for creating new employee, we are not going to pass the ID because for new employee, we can't decide the employee ID. So the backend, the server has to take the decision what could be the ID for the next new employee. Okay. So we are going to send like we are going to submit a form data. So we have to catch the form data. And for that form data, while inserting into this a backend any server or file, so it has to decide what could be the maximum ID. Okay, so here we are not going to pass um, any ID. We just pass only same thing. So this is again, it's a GET request, it's a POST request, same URL, but it's a POST request. It is going to create a new employee. Next, another one, I want to update. Okay, so update an existing employee. So how to update is we're going to use the put request. So URL will be this one. So why again this one is I want to update single employee, one particular employee I want to update. So it must be there already, the ID inside your backend in your database. So I'm passing ID along with the updated information. So that data has to be updated for this particular ID. That's one update. And last one, I want to delete. Okay, so delete an employee. So to delete an employee, you have to pass again a URL. That's a delete request. Delete request, and you need to pass the ID as well, because which employee you want to delete. So you have to pass the ID so that that particular employee will be deleted. So this URL's interaction to the backend is called API. Through this URL only you can able to call the functions of the backend server. Okay. So to test these URLs, we are using Insomnia software. First, I'll make these requests first. Okay, this setup, and then we'll talk about how to test these APIs. Okay, and then uh, so you have to make this particular employees URL. So here REST API, this is called REST API, but here we don't have any database, right? We don't have database till now. We have not discussed what is MongoDB, how to make these or this type of operations. But still, in this example, I'm going to show you. I'll just take one JSON file. Okay, so instead of database, I'll take one JSON file. So I want to do all these CURD operations like create, read, update, delete. It's like a see get is nothing but read operation. This also read operation. Okay. So for all these operations, I'm gonna do with a normal JSON file in my local, and after that, we'll learn database and let's make the same uh, functionality with database. We'll see. Okay. So let's create an Express server and let's configure all these URLs. So back to uh, WebStream, I create a folder. So right click new directory. So something 11 underscore express underscore REST API. Okay, so let me create a folders. So I create a directory. It's for public, and I create a new directory for routing. Okay, routes, and I create another directory for views. Anyway, we are not making any views, only JSON data we are representing. And one more routes required. Okay, one JavaScript. Let's make app.js. Okay, fine. First, before we start with Express.js and all, we need to uh, install the Express. So let me right click, open in terminal. Okay, just say npm install Express. Oh, sorry. First, you have to get the package.json, right? Yeah. So npm init, press enter. So it asks for several questions. Package name, yes. Version, okay. Description, Express with REST API. Entry point app.js. Test command, no. git no, keywords no, author, license yes. So, okay, so I got now package.json. So now let me install express, npm install express hyphen save. Express.js install. So along with Express.js, I'm going to install another module. So first I have installed Express, and one more I want to install is body parser, because I need to handle the post request, the form submission I want to catch. So I need another module called body parser. Let's quickly install this as well. So npm install body parser and save. Okay, installed. So let's make the server setup. So let's make constant express is equal to express. Sorry, you have to load it. Require express, and the constant app is equal to express. You have to initialize. Next constant path is equal to require. I need a path module to construct the path, and I need a host name 127.0.0.1. That's a host name, and the constant port number. I need 3000 port number, and let's make app.get request. So for the slash comma one listener, so here request and response. So let's make response dot send response.send. So I'm gonna make normal HTML like h2 slash h2. Let's make some style color red, and just say welcome to express REST API calls. Okay, and I also write here paragraph tag. So please use slash API slash employees for REST API. Okay, it's done. So let's make app.listen to the port number and the host name, comma one callback. So here I'll write a normal console log. So console.log express. So server is started at http colon slash 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 host name colon port number. Done. So I have made express server logic, and let me start the server once. So back to REST API. Let's make. I'm gonna start with nodemon. So nodemon space app.js. So it is started. So when I click on this URL, yes, I get the message. Welcome to Express with REST API calls, and please use slash API slash employees for the REST API, like this slash API slash employees like that. Okay. So now this page is done, and I want to redirect. I mean, I want to convert all the calls. So when I make slash, it's gonna get this URL, right? What I want is this URL slash API. So for API specific routings, I want to keep it to the separate router folder. So here I tell you some different approach. Just see here. In the routers, I'll create a new JavaScript that is index.js. Okay, so index.js. So here I'm gonna write. Let me load constant express is equal to require. This is another way of making the routings. Actually, this is the perfect way of making routes. See, I show you. Let's make express and then so constant router is equal to express dot router. Okay, so here we don't need to export the function and all. We can just make a direct logic. So router, let's do one thing. Get request. So let's make get request. So what I do is router dot get. So when I'm making a slash comma one callback. So here you will get request and response. Yeah. So as a return, nothing I'm doing here. Response. I want to just get something. Response.json. So I say an object. Let's make name. It's a get request. Okay. Fine. So let me export this. So module dot exports is equal to router. Okay. So there is a router function inside Express. So that router function I'm going to using to make all the routes. And let me configure this particular file for routing purpose in my application. Okay, so here. So what I do, how to configure the routes is, so you can configure anywhere. Let's configure here after that. So let's make application routing. Okay, so how to configure is, I have to load that. So I write constant index router is equal to require dot slash the custom module roots slash index.js, and this index router I'm going to configure here. So let's say app dot use. So here let's make slash API. So any request which is starting with slash API, all of those can be redirected to the index router. This is how you can configure. See, I have loaded the index router, and here what I'm doing is app.use slash API. So if it is normal slash request empty, you're gonna get this as a response. When any request which is coming for slash API, which is gonna send to the index router. So that index router is gonna take care about routes. So here again slash is there. So this is the okay. I show you. So how this gonna work? So let me go here. See, when I make normal slash request, like when I make a empty slash, I'm gonna get this one, but I'm not getting this thing because it is also slash only. But when this is configured to the Express server, it is configured with slash API. So it's nothing but this URL will be slash API slash something. So let's make that now here slash API just slash. So now you get the answer. See, name it's get request. So from API you can hit get. So any request which starts from slash API will move to the separate router, the separate module, and anything else you want to configure, you want to extend your application like admin slash something, admin slash create, admin slash delete. You can go to some admin router. Okay, so profile slash something, you can go to profile router like that. Okay, so API I want to interfere with the backend API. So I made this API slash employees. Okay, but I need something like slash employees So here you can make employees slash employees. So how to configure is, I mean, how to use this is slash API slash employees will be here. So here nothing is gonna get because we have made slash employees. So when I make slash employees, yes, you get the request. Okay, fine. So this is how we have to configure. So let's make all the, I mean, configurations, and then we'll start about the logic. So first of all, it's get request. So get all the employees. I need one more. So get a single employee. So for single employee, I need to pass employee slash ID colon ID. Okay. Next, let's make a post request. Post request create a new employee. So post request create. So get request is for read. This also for read. Next. So let me copy this, paste it. But post is just normal what employees only. And for put employees slash one is a put request. One more thing. It's a get. It's a get. It should be post. And this is for put request. And it has to update an employee. So it's a put request and employee slash some ID. You have to pass the ID to update the particular employee. And finally, delete. So delete an employee, and it should be delete. Okay, so delete also you need to pass the ID because I have made a ID for that. So colon slash colon ID. So ID will be dynamic, so I'll make colon. It's a request parameter. We have already discussed the request parameter in the last class. This one. Okay. So we have configure get all the employees, read a single employee, create a new employee, update employee, and also delete employee. Okay. So let me write the actual logic. But before that, we don't have any database to display this particular data. So let's quickly create a JSON file with some static data, and then we'll talk about how to fetch, read, and update, and how to test also I show you. So we need one JSON. So I'll just go to some mockup. Let me go to Google, and I will search for Mockeru. Yeah, Sharad.
Uh,
Yeah.
uh, One quick question. You said that we will use like a MongoDB, right? Database too,
Wait.
maybe.
After this example, we'll start MongoDB.
Okay, okay.
Yeah. Okay. Let me open this. Yeah. So here, ID, first name, last name, email, gender, IP address. Fine. I don't want to change this field, so I'll just make existing fields only. So I need just backup some 10 employees in a JSON format and no null values. Let me download this and go to the folder structure. Let me open that. Yeah. So I'll get this data. So I create one database folder. So inside I'll create one new file employees.json. Inside I'll paste. So now I have an employee of 10 records. So 1, 2, 3, 4 up to 10 employees I have. And let me read this data and update also here, delete also here. Okay, assume this is your database. Okay, as of now. So tomorrow we'll start with actually in MongoDB. Fine. So what to do here? So get requests for employees. So whenever I'm making, where is this? Yeah. So whenever I'm making this particular URL, I need to fetch all the employees in a JSON format. So let me read the JSON file and display over here. So for reading, we need one FS module and path module. So let me quickly load them. One is FS is equal to require FS module, and the constant path is equal to require path module. Okay, so FS module and path module has been loaded. So what I do is delete this. You have to read. Okay, so fs dot read file. So I'll give path dot join underscore underscore directory name. But when I say underscore underscore directory name, it's gonna give you, but this is inside root folder. So if you come out from the folder, then you can see database folder, and then you can see the JSON file. Okay, so I'll do here, comma, dot dot to come out from the folder, comma. You can see the database folder, comma, the file name. Is it employees? Yes, employees.json. So employees.json. Okay, that's a path and read file. So let's make UDF-H and one callback. So this callback is gonna have two things. One is error and data. So if any error, just throw the error and then data. So let me return, not return. Okay, I get data, right? So data, you have to send it as a response. So I can write response.json, response.json, but this data is like a string format. Okay, but I'll display that data, or else shall we convert this to the objects. Okay, anyway, JSON format, no, it'll take it. So response.json of data. So what I'm doing here is, whenever you're making a request, I'm just reading the entire JSON file and I'm just displaying JSON data over here. So let me save that and let me test this application. And I'm not going to test this application backend from the browser because I need to set up only get request you can test over here. Let's see, only get request. Why like this? Is that correct? But it came like a string. I'll do one thing. JSON dot parts of data. Okay, looks good. Fine. So I write a proper data. Let employees. So JSON dot parts, because that contains actually in a text format. So I just parse it to the JSON format, and that JSON format I substitute here. So that's same answer you get. Okay, so whenever I'm making API slash employees request, I get the data in this format, all the 10 records. But I don't want to use the browser because browser can only do the get request, but we don't have any forms, we don't have any HTML things to test my backend. So that's why we're gonna use one REST API client. So how to test the backend API is you have to use one REST API client. So that acts as a client. This acts as a your browser side application to send form data and all. Okay, so to test put request, get request, and everything. So I show you that uh, thing now. So we have already installed software called Insomnia. So Insomnia, it is an alternate for Postman. If you're using Postman, you can well and good, you can use it, or else you can start with Insomnia. So this software, let me open this one. Let me open this. Okay, so I have already something. So let me delete all. So I'm gonna create everything from the scratch. So first of all, you will not be having anything. Okay, so it will be like this empty software. So whenever you want to make a new request, do the control N. So control N. Okay, so what is your request? So my request is now to be read all the employees. So let's say read. Okay, let's make like this. It's a get request. Anyway, get will be display. So read all employees. You have to make a request name and then what type of request it is. Is a get request or post request, put patch, delete, what? It's a get request. Select get and then click on a create. Okay, so it is created. You want to test it. So to test what could be the URL? URL is we have already made. This is the URL. So let me copy the URL and paste over here. So this is going to connect to your Express server and fetch the results like this. See, now I enter URL API/employees. So because my server is running on this port number /API/employees and click on a send button. So when I click on send, yes, I got a response in a JSON format. Employee 1, 2, 3, 4, like 10 employees I got. And you want to cross check? See, Ted is the first employee. Back to your application. Uh, Employees.json, see Ted Nurick is the first employee. Okay, like this. And some person, Ruthie Lewis, yeah, last person. So we are able to fetch data. So get request successful, we can able to get all the data. So if we can able to do up to here at server side, and from client side, I'm going to get the same data at the client side when I request a URL. See, as of now here, you are sending a request from the REST API client, but in future, we have to make these particular URLs from the Angular application so that we'll fetch it and display on the client side. Okay, so I'm not doing anything, any client side logic because we are not supposed to do any client side logic from a server. The only server means API. Okay, so get request has done, and let's make another request. So get request to get the single employee. So particular employee I want to fetch. So how? So delete this. So I will copy this and I'll paste it. I want to read the data from the same employee.json. Here I got the employees, but I have to pick up single employee. So I get the ID. Let me get this ID. So that is with a request parameter. So let's something employee ID is equal to request object dot params request object dot params dot ID. You get the ID, and that ID is going to come in a string format. Let me convert that to number. So number dot parse int of ID. So this we have seen yesterday how to fetch request parameters. Yeah, so number dot parse int of request parameter ID. I get the employee ID, and this employee ID I need to filter out this data to fetch particular employee. So I write let selected employee is equal to employees dot find to get a only single employee. Here I gonna write a function. So you get each employee, and I'm gonna return employee dot ID because we have is ID. Okay, so employee.id is equal to the employee ID what I'm searching for. This employee ID which is coming from the URL, that ID and matching employee ID instead of these employees. So I get a selected employee, and the selected employee I'm going to return here. Okay, so whatever ID you're going to pass, that particular ID employee object is going to come as a response to get a single employee. So let me test this out. Back to Insomnia, but I want to create a new request because it's not get all employees. I want to create new request for the second one, get a single employee. Okay, so back to Insomnia, do control N for my name. Yeah, here get a single employee, and is again a get request create. Okay, so what is the URL to get a single employee? So this is the URL. So I'll paste. Okay, so employee /1, when I send, I get a single employee. So when I change the ID to and enter, I get the second employee. So when I enter 10, maximum 10 is there. So 10 employees. So you can just search for any other employee. If you're searching for other employee which is not exist, so you simply get nothing as a response. Okay, so 10 I got. So now single employee also is working. So two things has done with the API. Second one, post means I want to create a new employee and create a new ID. Okay, let's start with the post request now. So back to here, post request. So I want to, I'll delete this. So to create new employee, post request means from the client side, you are going to submit a form data because a new employee data is going to come from the client side through what? Through a form data. So form data means through request.body you're going to get. But when you want to get a post request like a form submission data, you need to configure the body parser, right? Otherwise you can't able to get this post request. So let me configure the body parser and then let me fetch the post request. So I have already installed body parser. Let me configure that with app.js. So back to here. So let's say constant. Mm, what I do is, let's say body parser is equal to require. It's a body parser third party module. And for this body parser, there are two other things to be configured. One is router. One second. Let me go to Google. I search for body parser. Okay. So body parser. So how to configure is you have to install done, loading done. Yeah. So then you have to configure. Yeah. You have to configure the JSON parser and encoded parser. Let me just copy these two and I load them here. So JSON parser means you're gonna get data in a JSON format. URL encode means it will encode the URL and give you the data. Okay, so both I have to configure. So how to configure the middleware is, so I have configured the routing, but let me configure the body parsers. So let's make app.use. I use JSON parser and also app.use. I'll use URL encoder body parser. So once you have configured like a middleware here, so we don't need to mention the extra again as a parameter. Actually, in the last class we have configured here. right? We have used as a third parameter, but not required. Once you have configured like this, is a new approach again. Once you have configured here, we don't need to use that as a second parameter. It automatically comes because this will be taken care by the Express.js. Okay, so nothing else can be done extra here. So what I do is get by data. So so let me read this data first. So I got all the employees, and I got employees, but I have to get the employees data from the URL from the form submission. So I say let new employee is equal to one object, but here I need to pass an ID. But this ID, um, anyway, from the client you are not passing ID. I need to create a new ID based on my existing data. So how to create a new ID? But already there are some IDs. See, for read all employees, I selected. If I click on send, see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 up to 10. So the next employee you're going to create ID will be 11. So I want to fetch in the entire data, which is the maximum ID. So I have to filter out this and to fetch. For this, I'm going to use a map function of arrays. Yeah, I show you what I mean. So I write let uh, max IDs. Okay, just say employee IDs is equal to employees dot. There's a function called map. So this is same like a filter or find, like it accepts again a callback function with array. Again accepts a callback function with each employee. So here no condition. So what you gonna map? I return employee dot ID. Okay. So here what is gonna happen is this employees dot map function will give you each employee. So return employee dot ID. It means it creates an array of all the IDs of each employee. Okay, so this is gonna get an array of all the employees IDs. If you want to cross check, let me copy this and I'm gonna send as a response. Okay, so let's check what is the employee IDs is gonna come. Okay, so let's create a post request and then send it for. So control N for the new request. So post. Okay, not post. Let's make a create new employee, and it's going to be the post request and then create. Okay, so let's make a URL. So post request URL is going to be this one. I'll send. So nothing I'm passing because I'm not catching any data. I just want to check what is the employee IDs. So when I send, yes, I get an array of all the employee IDs using a map function. Okay, I can even make a shortcut for this function. Instead of writing these many lines, so you can make an arrow function. Okay, and you can get rid of this extra parenthesis. You can make even shortcut, like let's go with a shortcut. You don't need to make written, and this one, and don't need this. Okay, so employees that map each employee, it gives you the each employee ID. So this is gonna get the array. So same thing only, but I made a shortcut, same data. But in this, whenever I want to create a new employee, that employee ID will be maximum. Maximum plus one. So I have to find the maximum. So I use math.max. So I write like this. Here, something max ID is equal to, I use math.max. Here. But math.max, I think we have already discussed about spread operator. So this array, you're gonna send it. You have to make a spread operator dot dot dot. So all this array employees, I mean, all this array elements is going to spread as a parameters for max function. So when I say math.max, so in the array, which is the maximum number that is going to return in the max ID. So let me just display the max ID as of now. So let's check. If I send, I get the 10. Yes, I get exactly the last ID is 10. Okay. But for the new ID is going to be the max ID plus 1. Okay. And also get the data from the form. So let new employee is equal to one object. Employee ID is going to be the max ID plus 1. For the next employee, it should be the max ID plus 1. And then the first name and last name I have to fill out. So first name. So first name. So how to get the first name is to the request dot body. So I write request object dot body dot. So what could be the name of the parameter? I write the same first underscore name. Okay. Next. So last name. I get request dot body dot last underscore name and email. So request dot body dot email and what else? Gender and IP address. Okay, so let's make gender. So request dot body dot gender comma IP underscore address is going to be the request dot body dot IP underscore address. So make sure your client side form should be having a same name parameter like this because I'm just fetching from that property that object only. Okay, now I created new employee with a max ID plus one, the next ID, and the first name, last name, email, gender, IP address. And let me push this to the existing employees and create, I mean, let me write this data to the same file. Okay, so what I do, employees dot push new employee. So the employees array, I'm going to push this data. So now this employees is having a full length of existing employee and the new employee, and this has to be right back to the same file. Okay. When you're doing the backend database operation, you don't have these many operations. You have a direct functions, but as a developer, you should know how to deal with JSON files. So that's how I'm showing. I got employees now, the full-fledged employees now with the new employee, and this we have to write back to this file. So let me write it back. So fs dot write to file same. It will be the same path. So fs dot write file same JSON and data. So what is your data? My data is employees, but while writing to JSON, one more rule we have already discussed. While writing to JSON, you have to convert this to string and write. So I write JSON dot stringify of employees, comma ut of h and the callback. So here I'll get the error. Okay. Okay, yeah, please. You can unmute yourself. Huh.
Can you hear me now? Yeah.
Yeah.
There we are getting data back from like JSON. If employee.json is this, whatever we are getting right
Hmm.
from JSON data.
Hmm.
And then where are we putting? Are we putting this on a file like txt file?
No, JSON
No,
only,
actually.
same file.
So actually, I didn't. What I didn't understand is like where are we getting data from, and where are we putting data now?
See, first time I'm reading for employee.json, right?
Right.
So this is having 10 employees.
Okay.
So let employees equal to JSON.pass. I got now proper employees object because this is like in a string format. Once I pass it, I got an object.
Object.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
From that, when I want to add a new employee, I need to fetch existing ID. So already some 10 employees are there. So
Right.
max ID is 10. So with this process, I got a max ID. And from the client, we are not going to pass ID because we have to generate a dynamic ID. Okay, so from the max ID plus one, I made ID, but first name, last name, and all which come from the client as a form data. So I create a new employee. So now existing employees is there. For that, I have added a new employee, and then this has to store back to the JSON again, right? Because when you
Oh.
want to fetch next time, when you want to fetch the employee, see
Mhm.
through this process, when you want to fetch again, it has to get from same employee.json. So once you have done this process, this again push back to the same JSON so that I can retrieve the new employee data. So now what I'm doing, this new employees, I'm writing back to the here. So existing employees will be replaced with the new employees data. And that too I'm doing stringify because while putting back to the JSON, you have to convert to stringify and do it. While getting from the JSON, you have to parse it. I think we have discussed in the JSON's concept
Yeah,
somewhere.
yeah, I got it, sorry.
Yeah, okay. So writing back to the JSON, so I got error. Okay, I'll make this. So if any error, just throw the error. Yeah, I know it's slight confusion one because a lot of things to do. Because if it is database, it will be easy. Just call a function for save, update, delete, and all. But this is as a developer, we should know this process. So simple only, nothing much. Yeah. So write back to here, and as a response, what you're gonna get? As a response, I'm gonna get a new employee. Okay, because I want to see what the new employee has been created. Okay, so now the post request has been done. Okay, and we don't have any client or form data to test it. We only test with Insomnia. I tell you how to test the post request and how to send the form data also from the post request from the Insomnia. I show you. So now let's make a post request to employees. See, already post request I have created employees, but how to fill in data of this thing. ID must not pass, it will take care automatically, and I need to get this data. So first of all, I show you how many employees are there. When I click on get all employees, I send it. See, 1, 2, 3, 4, up to 10 employees are there. So next time when I fill in data, it has to be 11. So go to post request. So where you fill in data here is just select this body tab. In this, there is yeah, form URL encoded. So this is the place you're gonna write your data. So let me select this form URL encoded. So here, what is a field? What could be the value? So I say first underscore name. So why I'm writing first underscore name only? Because request dot body dot first name. So that could be the property is going to fetch for the same property. So this is the property names from the client. Even when you're writing the client set form also, name should be first underscore name only because I have hard code that's like this. Okay, so first name. Okay, I create my name here. Next, last underscore name, email. So Naveen at huibrains.com. Next, gender and IP address. So IP underscore address. So I just give some dummy. So 127.65.25 dot something. Okay. So I fill out the form data and I'm just making a post request and click on send. See, you get an ID of 11 because what you have taken max ID. Max ID plus 1 is gonna ID. ID is 11 and first name last name also is got from the REST API clients. and this one. So as a response, what you got is a new employee. So what is a new employee we created and we got? Okay. And we want to cross check are really inserted or not. So go to get all employees requests and send it again. It was 10 only. If I send again, now check, see 11. So 11 and my name and this is insertion happen. It means you can able to create a new employee using this path. Understood? So this is what create new employee. So one more thing is pending, or two things are pending. One is updates and deletes. Okay, so let's do this one. So put is working, I mean post is working for create new employee. Let's make a put request. So here, let me update the existing employee with the ID. Okay, how to update is, so let's watch. First I read the data and I need to get the employee ID. So let's employee ID is equal to number dot parse. I had to parse it. Pass into request object dot params because the request parameter dot ID. Okay, so I got the employee ID. So let me update existing employee. How to update? We don't need the selected employee. Do we need this? Okay. So update means what is actually you're gonna get from the the client. You will get ID as well as the form data. So ID I got. So if I pass ID, can I do one thing? Can I make a shortcut for this? Okay. So through this ID, employee ID, I'm gonna get the selected employee, but not selected employee. I want to update a new employee. Okay, let me get a new employee and update over here. Shall we do one thing? Okay, so let's new employee is equal to one object because what is the updated thing? Okay, okay, let's make updated employee. I'll take. So this data is gonna get from the client. So I'll make an ID through URL you are getting, that is my employee ID, comma. What you want is first name. So first name, last name from the parameter, I'll make the same here. So first name, last name, email, gender, IP address. So updated data is gonna come from the client itself. Okay, so this employee I want to update. Update means I want to replace in the employees with new data. First tell me how to replace an existing data. Suppose I tell you one simple question. Suppose you have an array, right? Let's just make a language H, sorry, J for JavaScript. Yeah. Suppose you let employees, okay, let's say colors is equal to an array. Okay, so here we have white, comma, black, comma, silver. Okay, so here I want to replace this black with blue. What is the function you're gonna call? I want to replace this black with blue. How to replace? You're gonna replace color. Sorry, so colors array, right? So colors dot splice is a function. So for remove or replace, splice is the function. So you have to pass the index of existing elements. Existing element black. Black index is 1, comma. How many elements you want to replace? Only one element, comma. So what is the element you want to replace? It's a blue. So this is a function to replace the existing element inside of an array, right? Index is 1. Only one element I want to replace with what element is blue. So same story, I want to replace with new employee. So already some employee is there. I want to replace with a new employee in that index position. So I got existing employee, new employee, updates. So what I do is employees dot splice. Here you have to get the index of existing employee. So I will write, um, let me do, okay, uh, employees dot index of selected employee. Okay, so existing employee, index of means you get the index, because we don't know exactly what is the index. So if you pass the employee, I mean the index of, you get the index. So comma 1, so only one element I want to replace with updated employee. Okay, so this is to replace, okay, right here, replace the existing employee with updated employee. This is the function to replace. And after that, now this employees array is gonna having with update employees data, and this we have to push back to the same JSON. So I'll do the right function again to replace back, and we don't need the response now. Here it's already there here. So fs dot write file back to here, and stringify of employees, yes. And what you gonna display? I'll display the updated employee. Okay, so this is the process of updation of existing employee. So I will just test this application now. Put request. Okay, so let me do this. Back to Insomnia. Let me do Control N for the new request. So this is update an existing employee. So what request is going to be the put request? Click on create. Yes, put request is created. And what is the URL? URL for put is this one. Okay, this one. Please check once when I want to fetch a single employee. See, employee slash one, I send. See, employee slash one for ID one, data is Ted Nurick, something is there already. I want to update this Ted with some other person data. Okay, so for that, I use put request slash one, but what data you're going to pass is encoded form URL. I'll say the first underscore name. Some Ted something was there, so I'll make a Rajan, and last underscore name, Jain, email, is that same order? Yeah, email some Rajan at gmail.com, and gender, mail, to IP address. So I'm gonna give something 198.56.23 dot something. Okay, so some person data was there. Let's check. Yeah, ID is Ted Nurick, some other person data. So I'm updating with Rajan and Jain and something for ID1. When I click on send is a put request. When I click on send, see, ID1 has been updated with Rajan, Jain, and this one. You can even go to your, see, employee.json. It is changed first name Rajan, Jain, and all this. You can even fetch the data instead of checking over here. You can fetch all the employees. Sender. See, it was Ted. If I send again, see, now employee one replaced with Rajan, Jain, Gmail, mail, and IP address. Understood? So this how, let me fetch single employee. I get Rajan now. Okay. So we have done now get request done, post request done, put request done. Let's lastly delete. I want delete an existing employee. So for delete, again back to here, delete. So delete first, let me ID. I need to get the ID. So let employee ID is equal to what you're gonna do. Yeah, same thing, same story. Employee dot parse into request. dot params request dot params dot id. You get employee id, and let me read this entire data. So I'll read like this. Yeah, read file. So I get the employees. So in that, the selected employee. So let's make this line shorten. Okay, see here, I got the employee ID. So that ID you're gonna pass from here. I got ID. So that ID specific employee also I got. So now I want to remove this employee from this employees array. So how to remove? Again back to the same story. Here I want to remove black. How to remove black? You can do colors dot splice colors dot splice 1 comma 1. It means black index is 1 comma, from there how many elements to be removed? Only one element to be removed. So I want a same story. Suppose you want to remove the silver is 2 comma 1. So index of 2 comma 1. So one element you want to remove from that ID. So I'm going to use the same function. So splice of existing employee ID, I mean existing employee index comma 1. So here I'll do employees dot splice. What is the existing employees ID? So let's make employees dot index of selected employee, index of selected employee. So that ID is gonna get comma 1. So this is remove the selected employee from the array. So from the array, employees or index of this employee comma 1. So from this index, one element will be removed. Okay, so now employees will be having removed one element, and this again write back to the file. So how to write this one? So copy, paste. So fs dot write file. I'm writing back the new employees data to the file, and as a response, I'm gonna get this normal message outside. So employee is removed from DB, no database actually JSON. Okay, you want to just get the ID, so just say employee ID. Okay, this is as a response when you delete an employee from this ID. Okay, let's check. So delete request, we have to test it. So back to Insomnia. Let me create a git delete request. So control N. So delete an employee. So it is what type of request? The delete request creates. Okay, delete request. So you have to pass the URL. This is the URL. Yep. So first to delete before delete, because we have already done everything. So let's test one more time. So read all employees. First one, get. So one is Rajan, two is Brini, something something, and my name. Okay, 11 employees are there. So when I say get a single employee, when I make a URL 11, so it's gonna get a person with ID 11, my data. When I say something called slash 5, I get data. So this is working and this is working. And post, we have already seen new employee. Put, we have updated. So what is my plan is, so I say get all employees. I got all employees. So which one you want to delete? I delete this one. I delete ID number 11, Naveen. So this data I want to delete. So what I do? Delete request. You have to pass this ID to delete. Just pass ID and there's a delete request and click on send. Yes, you got a response. See what is the response we given? Employee removed from DB databases ID. So employee removed from DB ID is 11. Okay, so once it is removed, back to read all employees, and it was like this 11. When I click on send, Okay, only 10 is there, 11 has been removed. Okay, so delete also working. So as of now, what we have done here is everything we are doing with JSON file. In future, from tomorrow onwards, we're gonna introduce MongoDB. So these operations has to be done with actually database. Okay, we don't need to store like a file system. We need to do with database. That's one thing. And then once we're done with database, we will do these operations with database. We do two approach. One is our local database, which is installed in your system, and one more approach is we do the same operations, which is there in database, which is there in the cloud. Okay, in the Google database, how to connect to that server and how to delete that data. So that two approaches we'll see. One is local database, one is cloud database. So after you finish that, so that's the complete end of backend story. So in the backend, we have done our API. So once we have finished that, let's switch back to the client. There we're gonna learn TypeScript and then Angular. So then in Angular again the same concept will come how to do HTTP calls to the backend server. So that's a place where we're gonna make these type of URLs and get this data from the server and display back on the client from Angular. We will make these requests. It is just an client, but it's not actually an application. We have to make a front end to do these operations. Okay, so that we're gonna see from Angular. Okay, so that's the concept. How Vijay? Hello, hello. No, yeah. Any questions? Let me unmute all. Any questions till now? I know it's slight complex because JSON, right? But just understand, it's normal array operations only, nothing much. Read from the array and add to the array. Okay. So enough for this today's class, and tomorrow I'm gonna start with MongoDB. And make sure if you have not installed MongoDB, please go through the installation video and do the installation by yourself. So we will start the MongoDB with the normal command line operations, and then we'll start with application how to connect and insert operations. Okay.
Sir, I have a doubt.
Yeah.
Yeah, here from Insomnia, we are giving the data, right?
Yeah.
Like for
Data
put and to
backend server.
for those methods.
Huh.
So we can give it from the client also, right?
Yeah, yeah, we can,
using
we can.
form methods.
Yes, we can.
Uh, in the say when we give from the form method, again we need to read it like using using this
Yeah, yeah.
read file.
From the
Again we need to read the data from the front end and we can use it here, right?
yeah, yeah, yes.
Yeah.
Actually, we can make. See, I tell you, it is just for testing purpose. This Insomnia software is actually for testing the backend API. Is it working or not? So once
Okay.
it's perfectly done, then we have to develop the real front end where we can do the create, read, update operations from the front end. So there, this software will not come. So only your source code is has to interact with your front end. So we are just tested now. Backend is successful. So now same story. I want to test from the front end UI from the browser. So in the
Okay.
browser, you have to make an environment like a forms,
Mhm.
update, delete, and all. So that
Yeah.
we can interact from the client once we have learned Angular.
Okay.
Okay.
This Insomnia is just only for the testing purpose.
Yes, only for testing purpose.
Okay.
Hello.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, sir, can you use the JWT
JWT. Where
yeah, for the registration, sir?
JWT I'll teach you in Angular 8.
Okay, fine.
Yeah, because there we're gonna see the login, logout systems and all.
Okay,
Here, as of now, there is no login system. I just made direct access for the URL. Login system, once I made Angular, then I'll tell you how to verify the tokens at Node.js side. I'll tell you when we start with Angular. Okay.
okay, sir.
Yeah, fine. So that's it. So thank you so much, and please practice up to here, and we'll meet in the next class for um I mean MongoDB. Okay, so that's it. Thank you.